And right now, you're looking at a live picture from outside the state capitol in Sacramento, California. Today, people are gathering for a rally in support of the effort to recall California Governor Gray Davis. Among the speakers expected this afternoon, California Congressman Darrell Issa, Howard Kaloogian, who is one of the co-chairs of the Recall Gray Davis Committee, Bill Simon, 2002 Republican candidate for California governor, and Ted Costa, who is the other co-chair of the Recall Gray Davis Committee. We're going to be joining this event live in just a moment. Expected to hear from some of the speakers shortly. And while we have a chance, we want to take your phone calls and see what you're thinking about this effort to recall the governor. Here are the numbers. We have them broken down this way. 2 lines for California Democrats and Republicans. There they are on the screen. 202-585-3885 for California Democrats. California Republicans, 202-585-3886. And for all others in the United States, 202-585-3887. We're going to go first to Sacramento and Democrat caller.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello?
You're on C-SPAN.
Oh, okay. I'm on C-SPAN now?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I think that they shouldn't do that. It's not good for democracy to recall on the governor, and just another part of the Republican Party. I'm calling for Mississippi.
Okay. Once again, we want to make sure that people understand that 2 lines set up for California callers, Democrats and Republicans. All others, please call on the bottom line that you see on the screen. Next to Vista, California. Go ahead, Vista.
I think Cruz Bustamante is passing the buck, listening to him on the TV, and I'm a Republican, will always be a Republican, and I think Gray Davis deserves this recall because he has put this state into almost bankruptcy. Thank you.
Appreciate your thoughts. Houston, Texas, on the other's line.
Yeah. Actually, my opinion on this issue is I think the situation is very pathetic. We have Republicans trying to win a governorship through the back door. Actually, I think if we all believe in the tenets of democracy, what right have 850 people to force an election when the governor won on over, I'm sure, over 5 million votes? Additionally, I think it's all what President Clinton used to call the right-wing conspiracy. Attempts to win the House by governorship by all means. Should we recall George Bush, who has given us the largest deficit in many years? Gray Davis is $35 billion deficit. George Bush has 485. I think with George Bush really deserves to be recalled as much as Gray Davis.
San Diego, Democrats line.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm opposing the recall effort.
Can you tell us why?
The reason why I think the Republican saying is that the deficit is in, that's why they're recalling them. If they want to talk about deficits, they should look at the president's deficit that is $304 billion. That is why we're in a deficit in California, is because the failing national economy. This recall is an arrogant, cynical grab for power for the Republican Party. They cannot defeat any statewide offices, so now they're trying to steal an election by having a recall.
We'll go to a Republican caller from San Ramon, California.
Yeah, that's right. I think I think this recall is a grassroots effort by the people to throw the Democrats out of power here in California. I mean, they took over this state and it was in sound financial health, and they have reversed it by $50 billion. We're now $38 billion in debt, and they've been in total charge, and it's time for them to go, to recall Gray Davis and elect Bill Simon as our next governor.
Mays, Kansas, on the other's line.
Hello, do you mind if I just ask a question real quick? How long does the California governor stay in office after he's been elected?
How long does the governor stay in office?
Yes.
Well, why do you ask?
Well, he was just elected last November, so he hasn't even been there for a year. And if, the Californian people made a mistake in electing the governor, that's just a contradiction on their part. And as Lieutenant Governor Bustamante just said in the tape you aired, when everything is subject to change and you can just switch out governors now and later and whenever you feel like it, just because you don't agree with something they're doing, or they're doing something that the people don't approve of, that's not illegal. There will be perpetual elections forever, and, you know, everything will just be subject to change. So if he's only been in there less than a year, he's been reelected. He was reelected the last time he was elected. So if he was in there for less than a year, you know, that really doesn't prove anything, and, you know, you can't just put him out of office just because you don't like what he's doing.
I appreciate your thoughts. Gray Davis will face the first gubernatorial recall election in the state's 153-year history. The last gubernatorial recall election was in 1921. That was when North Dakota Governor Lynn Frazier was removed from office. Back to your phone calls. We'll go to Los Angeles on the Democrats line.
Hi. I think that we're seeing the beginning of, it started in Florida, and now we're seeing it in Los Angeles. I think that the Republicans are just going to take what they want outright. Their greediness and their power hungriness is what we're seeing right now, and I'm against the recall.
Bakersfield, California, Republican caller.
Hello, I was just calling to take note that, you know, this is for the people, and I think as this is done, that, you know, politicians everywhere will realize, you know, the government is for the people, not for the politicians. And on another note, you know, the Democrats can do the same thing. You know, this is why we have government. This is why there's choice. Okay?
Thanks for your thoughts. Again, live from outside the state capitol in Sacramento. This is the scene today of a recall rally for actually in opposition to Gray Davis. And we are taking your phone calls before the speakers begin. We're going to go next to Boise, Idaho on the others line. Boise, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, hi. I'm really glad you're having this call-in program. Let me get this straight. So 500,000 more people voted for Gore than they voted for Bush. So the will of the people was thwarted there when Bush was elected president. Gray Davis won the election. The Republicans don't like that, and so they hold up legislation in their legislature to thwart any success in California. So they want a second bite of the apple. So we're going to start a campaign here in Idaho to dump Dirk the Jerk. Dirk Kempthorne, our idiot governor, is going to. That's going to happen all over the country now. We don't like it. We don't like the results of the election. Let's have a recall. So Democrats are learning to act just like Republicans, and the only way we can win is to act as nasty as they do.
Thanks for your thoughts. We're going to go live now to the rally, and we hope to take your phone calls following this event.
Dump Davis. Okay. We have corruption, dishonest, dump Davis now. And I speak as a non-Republican. I speak as a liberal and the resident socialist, and I can't stand the guy. Corrupt, dishonest, dump Davis now. 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 Okay, be aware. Mr. Davis wakes up every morning. He looks in the mirror. There is no reflection.
Hey, hold, Governor Gray's got to go, then we get going. Right?
Oh, okay. Number 2, hey, ho, ho, Governor Gray has got to go. I'll do it one more time. Hey, ho, ho, Governor Gray has got to go. Hey, ho, ho, Governor Gray has got to go. Governor Gray has got to go.
All right, and I'm going to bring you back in just a moment.
Okay, yeah. These are props.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce. All right. We'll get to that later on. I promise you we'll get back. It's my pleasure to introduce the Master of Ceremonies for today's event, the Honorable Howard Kaloogian, Chairman of the Recall Gray Davis Committee.
What a beautiful turnout we have here today. I'm so glad you're all here. We're going to get started. We've got a great lineup of speakers. We've got candidates. We've got people endorsing the recall. We've got talk show hosts. We've got a bunch of folks that are going to entertain you today. But we're going to start out right. I'm going to bring Don Lake up. He is from the Peace and Freedom Party. He led the chants. He's going to lead the Pledge of Allegiance for us. He's the founder of Citizens for a Better Veteran Homes and has fought against the corruption of the California Department of Veterans Administration and the mistreatment of veterans by the Davis administration. Please welcome Don Lake for the pledge. Don? Don? Where'd he go? Where'd Don go? All right, well, Don left, so we'll get started together. Please face the flag. We have the flag here behind us. Ready? Begin. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm sure the Ninth Circuit heard you over here. To continue in the great American tradition, before we have anything else, we're going to have State Assemblyman Ray Haynes, a great hero, come and say the invocation. Ray?
Thank you. Thank you, Howard. When the Ninth Circuit decision came down, a few of us in the legislature yelled "under God," and the President of the Senate said, "Well, I'm sure that God can hear you no matter how loud you yell." And I said, "I wasn't yelling at God. I know He can hear me. I was yelling at the Ninth Circuit." Let's pray. Dear Lord, we want to thank you once again for coming together in the greatest country on earth and exercising the freedom that you gave us, that was granted to us by you. By exercising that freedom through this operation, Lord, we'd ask that you bless this day, bless our event, and help us to victory in the recall. Amen.
Okay. All right, good. Well, welcome to the kickoff on the Yes on the Recall of Gray Davis. This is a wonderful turnout. You know, he had his little party in San Francisco the other day, and he had all the paid union workers who got time off to go to his rally, and he didn't have 1/4 of the number that's here today. I'm Howard Kaloogian, and I'm chairman of RecallGrayDavis.com, and I want to thank you for all the success we've had. Our committee started on January 30th, and we had a strategy of using the internet to allow all of you to come together as a group, and we were going to tell you about it via the talk radio show, all the shows that we have here today. And we're going to hear from those talk radio hosts today. They are heroes of the recall. They've been fantastic for us. They drove over 17 million hits to RecallGrayDavis.com. A long time ago, before we even had the petition from the Secretary of State, we had 85,000 of you sign up agreeing to not only sign the petition, but to circulate the petition. And that is a true grassroots populist movement that began this recall. In fact, we were able to get to the first 100,000 signatures before a dime was spent to collect it. The email list now tops 135,000. We had a total of 450,000 petitions downloaded from the RecallGrayDavis.com website, and I'm here today to thank you for all that success. As a committee, we will not endorse a candidate for the replacement, but we're going to ask every one of the candidates for their specific plans for how they're going to fix the problems that Gray Davis has left us with. And I'll tell you the first thing that we're going to want to hear Because don't you know that if a governor by his own personal edict can raise the car tax by tripling it on you, that the next governor can reduce it again by a governor's edict, and that's the first thing we want done. We are now going to conduct a campaign to spread the message as to why Californians should vote yes on the recall of Gray Davis. He's got two great legacies currently. The first is the energy crisis, where we have brownouts and blackouts and power failures, and he has got us signed in now for long-term contracts at the highest rate in the nation. In fact, we experienced a little power failure here earlier where all the power got cut to our rally. What a surprise. The second great legacy is the budget deficit. Do you know when he started, he had $12 billion in surplus. 4 years later, revenues had gone up 28%, and with more money in the coffers, he not only got rid of that surplus, he also turned it into a $38 billion deficit. Enough is enough. And what did we get for all that spending? What did he build? Did he build us a new freeway? He didn't build a new freeway. He didn't build a new bridge. He didn't build a damn thing. But he's given us long-term debt. And you know, USA Today has surveyed all 50 of the states and determined that California is governed worst in the entire nation under this administration. Today, this recall is the equivalent of a vote of no confidence. I have a question for you. Do you have confidence that Gray Davis can fix any of these problems facing the state? Whether you look to traffic or taxes or water or energy, Gray Davis has exasperated every problem this state has. You'll hear all about this and more from the potential candidates and the talk show hosts and the constituency groups that are here. This is a very diverse group. Have you been around to the various booths that are around here, from medicinal marijuana to Eagle Forum? I mean, these groups don't agree on anything except that Gray Davis must go. But Davis says having an election is too expensive, don't you know? It's going to cost $30 or $35 million for the people to have their will. Do you know that's the first time I've ever heard him say he's against spending? He doesn't want you to have your wills, and that's the only way that he doesn't want to spend money. Isn't that amazing? In fact, that's the amount of money that we go further into deficit every day. It's time to end that daily deficit growth. And he also claims September 11th has caused the state to endure more expenses. Do you feel like you have $38 billion more safety here today against terrorism? You know, last time I checked, they could drive another Mack truck into this building without any protections. He also blames Bush, he blames the economy, he blames the stock market. Don't you know it's not his fault? He's just the governor. I've got news for Davis. If he's not relevant to the process, then we really don't need him. And as the highest elected Democrat, he is the head of his party. And his party owns this entire state. Every statewide office, they're in charge of the majorities in the Senate. They've got majorities in the Assembly. And he still isn't involved in getting the budget out of here. He is just taking up space. It is time for him to go. Well, let's get started with some of our candidates who might want to replace him. And I'm sure they've got reasons for endorsing the recall themselves. And so we're going to hear from them. We're going to start with a Democrat. Her name is Audie Bach. She was in the State Assembly with me, and she is the only Democrat so far to challenge Governor Davis. She's now declared her candidacy, and she made history, don't you know, in her first campaign when she defeated the political machine of Oakland, which was backing a local mayor. She challenged Representative Barbara Lee also in 2002 after Congressman Lee voted against a resolution supporting the U.S. troops in their mission to fight terrorism in Afghanistan. This Audie Bach votes correctly. If you want to if you're a Democrat and you want to vote to recall Gray Davis and vote for a Democrat, then Audie Bach is your candidate. She's a former teacher that decided to become a state assembly person and serve her public. When I served with her, I knew her to be positive, always smiling, even when embattled. And that happens a lot in this building. She's good to her word, and that's very important here. She seeks practical solutions and always believes deeply in the convictions that she espouses. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big warm welcome to the Honorable Audie Bach.
Thank you very much, Howard. It is an honor to be here with all of you in this wonderful coalition that includes people of different political parties, different ideologies, different ages, and different backgrounds. And I have been with you all the way. What we share in common is our desire to see a better and brighter future for our state. And we know that the only way to bring positive change to California and its people is to begin by removing the corrupt and failed administration that has made a mess of our state. My friends, we must recall Governor Gray Davis. For 5 years, the people of California have been suffering under the tyranny of this callous governor whose only interest is in the amassing of his own campaign millions. Well, while Gray Davis may have been able to buy his way into political office, his day of reckoning has arrived. And all the king's horses and all the king's men and all the king's big money special interests cannot possibly put together any shred of decency, honesty, or integrity to Gray Davis's administration ever again. Our failed governor has squandered the energy future of our state, all the while taking hundreds of thousands of dollars from the very energy companies that he says are to blame for California's dubious honor of now having the highest utility bills of any state in the nation. I ask you, is it any wonder that Californians now give Governor Gray Davis record disapproval ratings on his handling of the energy crisis? Our failed governor promised he'd be the education governor, and he pledged to make education his first, second, and third priority. But each time Gray Davis had the choice to put our children and their education first, he instead chose as his priorities campaign fundraisers, character assassination of his political opponents, and deception of the public. I ask you, is it any wonder that Californians now give Governor Davis a failing grade when it comes to his stewardship of our state's education policies? And now as California faces the largest budget deficit of any state in our nation's history, Governor Davis says he welcomes the opportunity to, quote, submit his credentials to the people of this state once again. Well, Governor Davis, submit away, because on October 7th, the people of this state will gladly accept the submission of your credentials on energy, education, and the budget. And when those credentials are handed back to you, don't be surprised when you see the words, recalled, recalled, recalled. I understand that People's Advocate volunteers were among those who worked so hard to collect the historic 1.65 million recall signatures. Are there any People's Advocate members or supporters here today? Good. because it is my understanding that you all voted at a recent meeting to ask that every potential candidate for governor pledge to oppose the tripling of the car tax. And as a Democrat who has spent her life fighting for the interests of the poor and the working class, I want to make something very clear. Tripling the tax on the vehicles people need to get to school, to obtain an education, or to get to work, to earn a living, is a policy that insults not just conservative Republicans, but progressive Democrats as well. I want to tell you all today, I stand with you in the opposition to this regressive and onerous tax burden on our people, and I will join with you in your fight to have this suffocating tax increase rolled back completely. As we look for a leader with the vision to lead our state, I'm reminded of the famed teacher and women's rights activist Helen Keller. Ms. Keller was asked what might be a worse fate than being blind, and her reply was, losing one's vision. Gray Davis has proved to us that he never had any vision to lose. California needs a new leader with a vision for better schools, better health care, and a better environment. And so I will stand with you in these next 75 days and spread the message to the people of this state that we cannot begin to restore a sense of hope for our future until we extinguish the smoldering ruins of Gray Davis's failed administration. In doing so, I will be attacked by Gray Davis and his henchmen. They have already begun to smear, lie, denigrate, and defame anyone who dares to oppose Mr. Davis. These are the only tactics that Gray Davis and his supporters know. Thank you. They will attempt to scare the voters by screaming about the cost of a recall election that costs $30 million. But they won't mention that our budget deficit grows by $30 million each day. Each day. They will attempt to frighten people into thinking a recall election will lead to chaos and anarchy. But they won't say what they really mean that they're afraid of facing is the will of the people who want to take back their government. But we are going to take back our government. We are going to overcome the tens of millions of dollars that Gray Davis will spend to smear this recall effort and anyone who supports it. We will take back our government by standing up and offering leadership that is absent from our government today. And I will do my part running for governor as the only Democrat challenger to Gray Davis. And I will do so as a Democrat who supports the recall of Governor Gray Davis. My friends, it is my duty, pleasure, and honor to declare my candidacy as a Democrat candidate for governor in the election to replace Gray Davis. Thank you. Thank you.
Run, Audie, run! Run, Audie, run!
Thank you.
Run, Audie, run! Run, Audie, run! Run, Audie, run!
And please come and see me later today. After the speeches, I'll be glad to talk to all of you and sign you up. Thank you.
The Honorable Audie Bach. Next, we will hear from Congressman Darrell Issa. Of course, Congressman Issa is not only a candidate for governor, he was instrumental in providing funding for the recall effort to qualify so quickly. In fact, we had more signatures turned in than any other recall or any other initiative of any kind in the history of the state of California, and we did it in the shortest amount of time for any initiative other than one. That is a wonderful record. I've known Congressman Darrell Issa ever since he was supporting my opponent in 1994 when I ran for state assembly. He was the finance chair for my opponent, and I don't let him forget that. We knew that the volunteer effort could only get us so far. We knew that until we had somebody coming in financing the effort to do mail and to do paid signature gatherers, that we would only be able to get it so far. Darrell Issa caught the vision, provided that leadership, and brought us across the finish line. And I'm here to tell you that Darrell Issa deserves our thanks. Please welcome Congressman Darrell Issa.
You know, this is some of the freshest, most refreshing water I've had in a long time. Isn't it a great day in California to be free? California is a great place. I came here in 1978, and I adopted this state, and I didn't ever want to leave. But in 1980, the jobs were pretty lean, and I went back to Ohio to start a business. By 1985, California was growing again, and I moved back here. And I don't ever want to leave again, and I don't ever want to see someone wanting to be a Californian and not being able to find a job. That's never going to happen again under my watch as governor. You know, we're here today to celebrate the recall of Gray Davis. Yeah. But let's not go overboard in that celebration. We had 3 jobs to do in rescuing California. 1, we needed to qualify this petition. And with your help, we didn't just qualify it, we 1.5 times qualified it. But that's just the first part of the job. The second part of the job is we have to continue to focus on people understanding what the last 5 years of Gray Davis have been all about. 5 years. We're not going to talk about Gray Davis and why he was fired as a lawyer 30 years ago. That wouldn't be right. No, it wouldn't be right. We're not going to talk about how many times Gray Davis has paid fines for doing things wrong, the $28,000 that he spent because he was using public funds to do fundraising. We're not going to talk about that, and I'll tell you why we're not going to talk about that. Because, no, we're not. It's a waste of time. Because the felony behavior of Gray Davis is the last 5 years that the people of California are paying for. We have to convince those who did not sign the petition that they need to think in terms of opportunity for California. Most people are thinking $30 million. Oh, it's going to cost $30 million to have an election. You know, the amazing thing is that most statewide elections cost about $20 million. Gray ran it up to $30 million, and today I understand his people are saying it's going to be $60 million. Now, isn't that the way Gray Davis has run everything in California? But the key people of California need to know that every day more than $30 million disappears down the deficit and debt hole. The people of California have to understand that, that when Bustamante delayed the election, he delayed an election that's going to cost us $250 million, because that's how many more days before we start turning California around. Well, we have to do more. And there are a list of candidates here today and many more that you haven't met that are all going to tell you they have the solutions. That once we dump Davis, that in fact we are going to replace him with A, B, or C. I only ask that all of you consider each candidate based on two things. One, do they understand what they need to understand to bring business back to California, to free us from the bureaucratic oversight that has ruined the job environment in California? Two, do they appreciate the value of a dollar and how it can be properly invested? I can think of a good investment I made recently. Okay, here we go. And last, do they have the ability to take a punch and another punch and another punch, sort of like 5 sequels of Rocky, and continue to do what you need to do? Because the next governor, whoever you all help elect, is going to have to be able to say, no, I won't allow California to go down the wrong road any longer. No, I won't succumb to special interests. No, I won't raise your taxes. As a matter of fact, I will not pass a piece of legislation that doesn't fix workers' comp and undo Now, the last 8 weeks, I've been doing something I didn't do before. Every time somebody gives me a pen, I don't give it back. I keep it. Because I know I'm going to need a lot of veto pens as your governor. And I don't think it's appropriate for the state of California at a time of economic need to waste money on pens. So I'm collecting them so we can not have to buy any until we get back into surplus. All of you are part of a revolution not seen in America, perhaps in history. Because although Prop 13 was certainly a good tax revolt, it didn't have a face. You put a face on the evil of government waste, of increasing taxes, of overspending, and increasing a bureaucracy. You put a face on it, and the face is Gray Davis. Now, I'm going to be a fiscal conservative in everything I do. And today I'm going to start off by not making any longer speech than anyone else might, and maybe shorter. So last and definitely not least, I want to thank all of you for creating the 1.6 million signature revolution that has been heard around the world. Thank you all.
Thank you, Congressman. I have an announcement to make before our next speaker. The California Highway Patrol has informed me that we've got 3 Harley-Davidsons over here at the end of this walk at the drive that have to be moved because that area is reserved just for the California Highway Patrol. And I'm glad the bikers are here, but I want you to keep your hogs. So if you could move them out of that spot, that would be wonderful. And if Lori Adeschwitz could make it up to the front, I'd appreciate that as well. Our next speaker is State Senator Tom McClintock. That may be all the introduction he needs. That may be all the introduction he needs, but I need to tell you that when I served on the State Assembly, he was right next to me in the very next desk, and we both hit our red button voting no, and we had this little vote contest to see who could vote no the most against all these spending bills. And he, you know, after the folks would put these bills out that were so bad for the state, I'd just look over to him and he'd just shake his head. And you know what? He's going to come out here and tell you all about it now. But he did one thing a couple of years ago. He is the person who reduced your car tax. And for that alone, he deserves our respect and our thanks. Please welcome Senator Tom McClintock.
Thank you, folks. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I brought my family along. I wanted my kids to see this hour of California's redemption firsthand and remember it for the rest of their lives. And I want to salute all of you, all 155,000 Californians who circulated petitions to take back control of their government from the most corrupt and incompetent regime in this state's history. And especially recognize heroes like Ted Costa, whose foresight and courage began this effort when the pundits laughed. Howard Kaloogian, who instantly stood up and has been the greatest spokesman a cause could possibly have. Darrell Issa, whose devotion and generosity accelerated the drive and who has borne the attacks of Davis and his henchmen. All of the radio hosts across California who've sounded the call to action, and all of the citizens of California who responded to that call. You've brought us to this moment in history. This is your moment. God bless you. This is the historic turning point that can restore the state's public works, that can bring our bureaucracies back under control, that can roll back the regulations and taxes that are choking our economy. To do so, we must have a governor who knows every crevice of this government and is willing to challenge and confront and defeat the spending lobby that controls it. Now, let me tell you what I will do in the first hour of this administration. Howard's already alluded to it. The moment I've taken the oath of office, I'll sign the order to rescind the illegal tripling of California's car tax. Thank you. If this governor can claim to have the authority to raise the car tax by fiat, then by God, I'll claim the same authority to lower it right back down by fiat. That's the first 5 minutes of the new administration. Next, I'll sign a stipulation of the Superior Court in Pasadena in the case I filed last year to void the $42 billion of outrageously overpriced electricity contracts that Davis approved and that are costing Californians a fortune. Those contracts were negotiated under a clear legal conflict of interest by Davis's chief negotiator. The governor won't stipulate to that in court, to these very simple and obvious facts, because it would require him to admit wrongdoing. Well, I will. And then I'll sign a third document calling a special session of the legislature to deal with the workers' compensation and insurance crisis. They'll have 30 days to enact Arizona's workers' compensation law, slashing workers' comp costs by 2/3. And if they fail to act in 30 days, I'll take it to the ballot and let them explain to the people why they refused to act while our job market was collapsing. With those three documents and a governor who is willing to act, we can reduce taxes by over $4 billion, dramatically lower electricity prices, and roll back the costs of workers' compensation that are destroying jobs in our state. And all that before lunch. And the rest of that first day, I'll spend personally defunding every state agencies that duplicates local or federal jurisdictions or overlaps other state agencies. Folks, we can do this. Last fall, I received more crossover Democratic votes, more independent votes, more total votes than any other Republican on the ballot. Running for controller, I received 103,000 votes more than our candidate for governor. I believe the hour has come. Thank you. Now let me finish with this one thought. My parents moved to California with their family in 1965. Their kids, me and my sister, were about the age of my kids now. They came here seeking a better future for us. My dad had been out of work for over a year. My mom was a homemaker. And yet they came here that summer and they immediately found good jobs and they found the home of their dreams. On a very modest income, they were able to afford a 4-bedroom ranch-style home with a 40-foot swimming pool in the backyard on a 3rd-acre landscape. They bought that home for $35,000. California was indeed the Golden State. Taxes were low, jobs were plentiful, the highways were the finest in the world. My dad commuted 40 miles to downtown Los Angeles every morning. It was about a 45-minute drive in rush hour. Our hydroelectric and nuclear plants were making electricity so cheaply that electricity meters were supposed to be obsolete in 10 years. Remember those days? Our water storage was so immense that many communities didn't even bother with water meters. Coming from Westchester County, New York, where the schools were supposed to be the best in the country, I had to scramble as a 4th grader to catch up with California's schools. I remember that state. I lived there. It was real. And it's been taken from us. Ladies and gentlemen, don't you think it's high time that we took it back? The home my parents bought for $35,000, if it were new, should be selling for about $180,000 today with inflation. But the homes in that neighborhood, now 40 years older, now cost more than twice that. My parents wouldn't have been able even to think about affording that house today. They wouldn't have been able to find work either. We've lost more than 200,000 jobs last year. And if they had found the work, they couldn't have gotten there. Downtown Los Angeles is now more than 2 hours from Thousand Oaks in rush hour. They couldn't afford their taxes either. That year, to deliver all of those services, the state spent a little over $6 from every $100 that people earned. Today, Davis is spending a record high of nearly $10 out of every 100 that you earn for diddly squat. If my family and every family like ours came looking for a better future for their kids today, they wouldn't have found it in California. Those families today look at our state with the most bountiful resources in the entire continent, with the most equitable climate, with every blessing that God could bestow upon a land. And they're finding a better place to live and work and raise their families in the middle of the Nevada and Arizona deserts. No conceivable act of God could ever have wreaked such devastation upon our state. Only government could do that, and it has. And the good news of this election is that we can change that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the chance to make our state over again. One by one, Californians are realizing that their decision comes down to fight or flight. Many are fleeing, but many more know that this state is worth fighting for. Ladies and gentlemen, in the next 74 days, this generation of Californians has its own rendezvous with destiny. This generation of Californians has the historic responsibility to restore to our children the golden state that our parents gave to us. Now, are you ready? Then let's roll.
Senator Tom McClintock. Next, we're going to hear Next, we're going to hear from the standard bearer who told us the truth last year. This man last year said that our deficit was spiraling out of control. Last year, this man said our deficit was going to be over $20 billion, and that's only a low estimate because we can't get any better numbers out of the governor's office. And last year, the governor mocked him. The governor laughed at him. The governor beat him up and spent money causing him to be thought of as being very negative. But the man is honorable. The man is smart. The man was right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the truth teller, our candidate from last year, Mr. Bill Simon.
Thanks, everybody. You know my son Griffey and my wife Cindy. I want to say first, congratulations to all of you, the people of California. Congratulations. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for your will. The will of the people must be respected. Today, we take one more step in our historic journey to dump Gray Davis. We have a lot of people to thank today, all of you, all of our great talk show hosts that I had the privilege of getting to know on the campaign trail, our 3 recall groups, and the 1.6 million people of California that signed recall petitions. These are the same people and many more that are going to dump Gray Davis on October the 7th, 2003. It was 4 years ago now that we began this dismal journey under Gray Davis. And under Gray Davis, we have had one catastrophe after another. We've had an electricity crisis. We've had a water crisis. Our schools are in continual decline. And now we have a budget crisis. And on October the 7th, Gray Davis is going to get what he deserves because the people of California are holding him accountable. During my campaign for governor, I projected the budget deficit would be well over $20 billion. And a week before the election, Gray Davis said it would be $12 billion and accused me of playing politics. Who was right? And then a week after the election, Gray Davis said the budget deficit would be $35 billion. Is that a coincidence? Does anybody here believe that Gray Davis didn't know before the election that the budget deficit was going to be far worse than he talked about? So what has he done since then? He's allowed spending to continue to grow out of control. He has allowed the water crisis to get worse. He's allowed the high school exit exam to get delayed by 2 years. The fact is that in addition to Griffey, there are 3 other children. And if they failed a test, we would not go to the teacher and say, please don't test the child. We'd make sure the child studied and make sure that they passed that test. When I am governor in 2006, or maybe in 2003, when I am governor I pledge to you that we will not have the type of sham budget that they're talking about in this building right now. This budget that they're talking about is a surrender rather than a solution. This budget, which purports not to raise taxes, ask Tom McClintock, one of our greatest fiscal conservatives. He knows that that car tax needs to be repealed, and it needs to be repealed immediately. He knows, as well as all of you know, that there is no such thing as a fiscally responsible budget which projects an $11 billion deficit each and every year as long as the eye can see going out into the future. That is not responsible behavior. And we know that a fiscally responsible budget is not hiring 11,000 people after a hiring freeze has been imposed. Gray Davis is mortgaging our future. He's mortgaging our children's future. He needs to be dumped. Ladies and gentlemen, together we need to send a message to all Californians, a message that we can do better, that we've had enough, that we deserve better leadership, and that, yes, we can have a brighter future. But the only way we can have a brighter future is with different leadership. The only way that we can make the type of fundamental change that will avert the catastrophes, that will ensure that we've got adequate water, we've got adequate roads, that our schools teach our children, and that our government is limited and local in nature, is by changing the leadership on October the 7th. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to be here today with my family to say thank you to you and to tell you that the last day of the Davis administration will be the first day of California's recovery. Thank you. Thank you. And God bless you. Thank you. And God bless California. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Bill. Thank you.
Now I think it's time for some musical interlude. Ladies and gentlemen, we have something known as the Recall Song. You may have come to the website Recall Gray Davis. You may have downloaded the song. We know the governor's office has done that lots of times. It's our favorite theme song. You have the words. Please welcome the author, the person who created the Recall Song, Glenn Erath.
Hey, thank you, Howard. All right. Thank you, Howard. Howard Kaloogian, thank you very much. I think every recall campaign has to have a song, don't you think? I think so. And, you know, since this is the first one, I guess we're going to start a new tradition here. There's not a lot of precedence for this. But you've actually been given a little song card, so you can sing along if you can follow this. Apologies to Don McLean. And it goes like this. Can I hear the guitar? Can you hear the guitar? A long, long time ago, I can still remember the days of Governor Jerry Brown. We thought things couldn't get much worse, Moonbeam and his Medfly curse, but now Jerry Brown ain't looking all that bad. Is there someone out there who could save us from the clutches of Gray Davis? He handled the energy crisis. He locked in the highest prices. And Gray, I will not lie to you, the prospect of new IOUs is giving state employees the blues. Hey, Gray, think it's time to go away. Now we're singing bye-bye, Mr. Mr. Gray Davis, I suspect that Californians won't be drying their eyes. If you end up recalled, he'll be one happy guy. Gray, don't worry, we won't forget your impact on our state, you can bet. Did you write your campaign speech? Your deficit estimate did not reach quite as high as it should have gone. And did you believe schools would be safe from budget cuts? Teachers went ape when they found their necks upon the chopping block. Oh, that dot-com collapse was not pretty. Capital gains shrunk, what a pity. They spent more than we took in, and this year's budget is still cooking. And Gray, I will not lie to you, that prospect of new IOUs is giving state employees the blues. Hey, Gray, soon they'll be singing too. They'll be singing bye-bye to that Gray Davis guy. Things just seem to get worse the harder he tries. No one's gonna need a hanky to dry their eyes the day Gray Davis says goodbye. See you later, Gray. Bye-bye. Have a nice trip. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn Erath. Now we're going to hear from the people who made the recall possible. They told you about the recall, and you responded. The reason that you didn't read about it in the newspapers is because newspapers are not as in touch with the mood of the populace as the talk show hosts are. Because on talk radio, you get to call in, and they listen to you, and they respond to you, and they know what it is that you're saying and thinking and feeling. And so we need to pay tribute to the people that helped make this recall possible. On December 30th of last year, the mother of the recall was broadcasting on KSFO, and she came up with this thought. She was interviewing Sean Steele, the chairman of the Republican Party, on December 30th, and she said, why don't we recall Gray Davis? The mother of this recall, Melanie Morgan.
You know, being a talk show host, I'd like to take total and complete credit for this. But I'm afraid that's not possible. Look at how many of you are out here today who have been working for the last 7 months. 150,000 people downloaded from the internet. They got that petition and they passed it around to their friends and their neighbors and their family. Because why? Because they know that we are in a crisis in California. We cannot afford to wait a moment longer to remove the man who has brought us to the brink of catastrophe, and his name is Gray Davis. I just want to take, again, the opportunity to thank all of you. Without you, this movement would not be possible. It is amusing and interesting to me to watch as Gray Davis has sent out his union thugs, his hired help, his pseudo-friends to try to defend him, but they can't. And why? Because he has no record that is defensible. It's that simple. What he has is pay for play. He has a government that is operated by whoever will write him the largest campaign check. And I don't know about you, but that is not good enough for me. California, I thank you. California, together, we will come together through our various internet connections, through talk radio, through the conservative grassroots. We are the people that Gray Davis calls losers. So, Gray, meet a bunch of losers, people who are losing every day economic buying power, people who are losing jobs, people who are losing their ability to do their jobs. We're overregulated. We are just absolutely at our wits' end. So I think it's time for us to say, goodbye, Gray. Thank you all very much.
Thank you to the mother of the recall, Melanie Morgan. This next radio mayor of San Diego is a good friend to this recall movement. He was on top of it early. He was on top of it often. He dedicated every day. He said every day we're going to talk about reasons why the recall should be had. And San Diego County, though it is not the most populous county, was in the lead early in the number of signatures turned in because of this next man that we're going to have come to the podium. You know him as the radio mayor who sometimes substitutes for Rush Limbaugh nationally. We know him as our friend Roger Hedgecock.
Is it hot enough out there for you? This heat is nothing compared to the heat we're going to put on Gray Davis over the next 75 days. I stand before you, as Melanie before me, and you'll hear Eric in a moment. We are the media that is your friend. We in talk radio listen to you. We in talk radio and through the internet are there for the people of this state, and that's why we've been able to get together today, and that's been a wonderful experience for me, I'll tell you. Every day in the next 74 days, it'll seem like 74 years, every day, trust me on this, Gray Davis is going to prove why he's the subject of the recall. Every day he's going to promise another special interest group a little goodie in order to get the recall's support. Every day he's going to prove why this pay-to-play government is corrupt and has to go. Every day you're going to see proof of why Gray Davis has got to go. And I just want to tell you in the last week, 2 examples of this. While this gentleman was tripling our car tax by executive fiat, he signed a bill that exempts all cars on Indian reservations from any car tax at all. How much money do you think the tribes are going to give him on the recall? Right? Now, another bill is going to come to his desk that's going to provide for up to $150,000 in fines for businessmen who may have an objection to an employee showing up as a cross-dresser in their place of business. $150,000 fine. He's going to sign that bill because he knows he needs the radical left-wing gay and lesbian community to support him. Every day, ladies and gentlemen, watch this man prove to you again why he shouldn't have been governor in the first place, why we've caught on. Let me just put it to you simply. This is a state which tries to protect consumers with what we call the Lemon Law. The Lemon Law says if you buy a car that doesn't work, you can return it. We bought a governor that doesn't work. He needs to be returned.
I have used that phrase, the lemon law in California, over and over again, and Roger came up with it. But we do have local talent and local radio stations here in Sacramento. KFBK is a talk show here, 1530, and we have the man who helped to impeach the Arizona governor, Meacham. We have a man who has held more rallies here than I know how to count. Please welcome Mark Williams.
Thank you. Meeting here seems to be an old habit for us, doesn't it? We tend to do this a lot. The governor couldn't be here, so I brought him with us.
This recall is just a bunch of sour grapes by a bunch of losers. Look,
This recall is just a bunch of sour grapes by a bunch of losers.
You're a bunch. Hello, losers. You know, I got to tell you something. Melanie and Roger have been the heart and the soul of this thing on talk radio up and down the spine of the state. A round of applause. Roger Hedgecock and Melanie Morgan, please. They have driven this thing. Since 1979, I've been on the radio involved in activist campaigns of one sort or another, rolling back congressional pay raises, impeaching Governor Meekum in Arizona, and I've been either an organizer or a go-alonger on these things, and this one I'm a go-alonger. Melanie and Roger own this one lock, stock, and barrel. But I do have to tell you something. They can't, and I can't, accomplish a thing. You wouldn't be here, those petitions wouldn't be signed, and the governor wouldn't be being recalled if it wasn't for you. Every one of you, and thank you. A round of applause for everybody who signed. What we do as talk show hosts is we look to see which way the parade is running, then we run to the front and say, follow us. We're politicians, and we can't tell you what to do, but what we do is we provide a focal point. We provide an outlet. We provide a motivation. 1.6 million people in the state of California who all wanted to fire Gray Davis were able to talk to each other, conspire with each other, plan with each other, and ultimately fire Gray Davis. And finally, October 7th, 2003, Emancipation Day, fire Gray Davis. Thank you. Thank you.
Good job, Mark. We have another person who owns the recall, because on February 6th, we had a man who was broadcasting live, and he had a broadcast where Ted Costa called up and said he just made a pot of coffee. Why don't you come on down and sign to be the first 100 people to be the petitioners to actually begin the recall. And the way that got started was on KTKZ with this man, Eric Hogue.
You know, it's kind of funny, and we're happy about this. There's a lot of folks who come to the party late, and that's okay. They're just like the French. They come when the war is over. That's quite all right. We're not bothered by that, because what we do each and every morning is we represent the people. You know, it wasn't, Howard, 4 or 5 months ago we had a rally like this, and we were talking about beginning, and we were shameless and losers and idiots, and Ted Costa was a wacko. Where is Ted, by the way? The official petitioner. We call him the mad scientist of initiatives here in California. I'm sure he'll be up here later on. But it was a February 4th, and Ted called me at 6 o'clock during news, and he said, what do you think? Could we get 65, 100 people down to the office? I said, Ted, let's give it a whirl. Let's conceive this thing. 2.5 hours later, 325 people. The taxi cab driver who didn't want to work that day said, I'll take a half day and I'll drive people around for free. Shut-ins, old, young, 325 people who started a national story in history here in California to recall Gray Davis. We call them the 100 Patriots. The election coming up, a lot of people are simply saying, what's the synergy about this? Why the attention over this recall? I'll tell you why. The nation's watching. The nation is peering in. The politicians are watching. Peter Jennings is watching. Those who wanted to deny this, they're watching, because the people have organized within themselves under a constitution with the voice in a republic that simply says we're still in control. And because of it, we're going to make a change, and we're going to get to the polls, and we're going to have our voice heard. So enjoy the ride, enjoy your freedom and your liberty, and enjoy the fact that this is a blessing, a gift from God. Stand up and make a change and save California. God bless.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Eric. Next, from KION, talk show host in Monterey, somebody who's been with us since the beginning, somebody who started right up front in February. Please welcome Martha Montelanego.
It's Montalongo. But that's okay. I got Kalugian. Well, it is great to be here. I want to say welcome, compatriots. I would like to say a few words in Spanish as well. When I want to say something in Spanish. My family, they're immigrants from Mexico. I was born in El Paso, Texas. I'm a Tejana, and I'm an American. I love being American. My mother, she spoke to me in Spanish all my life, so it speaks to my heart. And so I want to give a message in Spanish to those who also have that resonance in their heart, you know, the language, if that's okay. But first I want to say in English, all of you, you know, I know we're here because we hold dear the ideals of freedom and liberty. We love this land of opportunity, and we know that these words are more than just quaint little conventions. They are fundamental to the way that we live our lives. They distinguish what makes us who we are and how we live. So I want to say congratulations to all of you for standing up for those fundamental principles. And that's what I wanted to say. In Spanish, I wanted to say, mis compatriotas, ustedes que estiman las ideales de la libertad y que aman esta tierra, y que saben que esta tierra nos rinde oportunidad, ustedes reconocen que estas palabras son más que simbólicas convenciones. Ustedes saben que son palabras poderosas, que distinguen cómo vivimos y quiénes somos cuando somos estadounidenses, cuando somos americanos. Y salud a eso, a la libertad. So, I want to say thank you very much for being here. It is an honor for me to be here. I want to thank Ted Costa. I want to thank Howard Kalugian. I want to thank all of you, the grassroots activists who helped to make it possible to show that we will stand up for our liberty and for our freedom, and we will hold our politicians accountable, and they do not have a blank check with our money. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. You know, there are some talk show hosts who will have you on for a few minutes. They'll want a sound bite. They'll want you to talk for a couple of moments, perhaps between two commercial breaks. And then there are talk show hosts like the next one who will want you on for hours on end to make the point and hear from the listeners and to take on all challengers. And so I'd like you to welcome from KCBC in Modesto, Steve Wampler.
Thank you, Howard, and thank all of you who are here. This has been a banner week in California history. We have the chance to remove the most incompetent and corrupt governor, not of just 1 century, but of 2 centuries. Gray Davis is the most corrupt and incompetent governor of the 20th and of the 21st centuries. This is a man who has given us the highest taxes in the state's 153-year history. This is a man who has given us the worst bond rating of any state in America, approaching junk bonds. This is a man who has given us the worst deficit in American history of any state. This is a man who has given us the worst business environment of any state in the Union. This is the man who has said to crowded commuters on freeways, "We will not build any more freeways." Winston Churchill once made the statement that the worst crime, the absolute worst crime, is the failure to tell the public the truth. Gray Davis, John Burton, the Democrats in the Assembly, the Democrats in the Senate, and horribly, most of the political media in this state have failed to tell the citizens of California the truth. Let me provide one example of how they failed to tell you the truth. On July 1st, 2003, Gray Davis extended his hiring freeze, and he extended a 20-month-old hiring freeze. And you know what the media in California does? I would say many political reporters, what they do well, they cover smoke and mirrors well. They cover PR stunts, ceremonies, and spin like a top. What they don't cover well is substance. They fail to tell you the truth. The Associated Press, about Gray Davis's little hiring freeze ceremony, said that, in effect, he was going to save us $500 million and said that he was really taking action. The San Jose Mercury News ran an editorial, and in their editorial, here's what they said. They said that he was a man who was taking blunt action. You know what the Associated Press and you know what the San Jose Mercury News in its editorial left out? They left out that Gray Davis has hired 23,000 new employees during a 20-month hiring freeze. Now I ask you, when a state is in deficit, when a business is going under or a family's mired in debt, do you hire 23,000 new state employees? Now, you're going to hear a lot in the coming months that this recall is going to cost $30 or $40 million. But you know what the media will never tell you as a story? They will never tell you that last summer, Gray Davis traded California's $12 billion of tobacco money over the next 25 years for $4.5 billion. Have you ever seen a $1 billion bill? Gray Davis took 7 $1 billion bills and burned them. $7 billion. And we have folks across the street screaming about $30 million. I want to ask them a question. What happened to my $7 billion? Okay. Now let me conclude with this. To anyone who is not supporting the recall, take a look at Fortune magazine for this week. It calls California Sweden on the Pacific. It says that Gray Davis is turning the state so stridently anti-business that he's inflicting permanent structural damage. 20% of the businesses in this state are looking to leave the state. 289,000 jobs have been lost in the last 2 years. To the people across the street, to the opponents of the recall, I say one word: think. It's time for Gray to go.
For a minute, I thought maybe Steve thought he had the 2 hours. Good job, Steve. Aren't they great? The talk show hosts that have helped us out. We've got one more. It's wonderful. Without the talk show hosts in this state, the word would not have gotten out. You couldn't rely upon newspapers or television anymore. I'm sorry. It was the talk shows that were in touch with people, that you were able to call in and tell us that you were ready for this recall. KFAX. The voice of the recall radio ads that we did, and Lifeline host Andy Froyland. Andy?
Can you feel the history swirling about you today?
We're about to do something that has never been done before in California, and that's claim it back for us, the people.
You've seen a lot of faces here, a lot of names. And he's even called me the voice of the recall. Folks, I'm just the vocal cords. Howard is the vocal cords. You are the air. You are the life of this recall. Without you, it wouldn't be possible. So if you would, I came to take pictures of famous people. Please smile. Congratulations and thank you. The state of California thanks you. As a 4th and 5th generation Californian, I thank you. This state is ours. It isn't this man back here.
Recall Gray Davis.
Good job, Andy. When we got started with this recall, we knew that the volunteer effort would be able to get it started, give it momentum, create the legitimacy. But we needed more help than that. And so I went to my friend Ray Haynes, and I said, Ray, we're going to need some help. And he said to me at first, he said, well, I can help you keep the mockery within the Republican caucus down to a minimum. And I said, that would be good, because we don't want people laughing at us too much. But we're going to do this, and we need finances. So could you call our good friend, Congressman Darrell Issa, and invite him in to have a financial part and provide the leadership that we need to finish us up? And he was the one who made the call to tell Darrell Issa that if he wanted to be part of this, he needs to write the check. Ladies and gentlemen, the man who helped make history, Assemblyman Ray Haynes.
Howard, Howard gives me way too much credit. I've, quite frankly, simply tapped into the power and the energy that's in front of us today. And I want to join the chorus of thanking you for doing all the work that you did. I know it's hot out. I know there's a lot of things going on. But I want to ask you one question. Do you think this ends here today? Do you think you need to do a little bit more work? Are you going to go out and talk to your friends? Are you going to go out and talk to your neighbors? Are you going to go out and talk to the folks at the mall and in the soccer fields and the Little League fields and tell them why we need to get rid of Gray Davis? Because that's what the message I want to leave here is. It is great. This is a great day to celebrate a great event, and that is the qualification of this recall. I will tell you, this is my 11th year in the legislature. Our state is drowning in a lack of leadership. Our state is suffering because the socialists in the legislature have had their way with the people of California for the last 5 years, and Gray Davis has allowed it to happen. The Gray Davis Democrats that have dominated the politics of this legislature and this state for the last 5 years have drug us. It's not just Davis, because he's only their leader. They, all the Gray Davis Democrats that now control this legislature, they've created the $38 billion deficit. They've created the flight of 265,000 jobs. They've destroyed our school system. They destroyed our freeway system. They destroyed our electrical system. This is the beginning of a new time in California where we claim back our state, where we step forward and say, no more. Not that long ago, I was on the radio with one of the anti-recall people, and they said this was just a plot by a bunch of right-wing nuts to take over this state. I know I'm a right-wing nut. I wasn't plotting with you guys. I'm assuming that you're not. I think this is a grassroots rebellion. This is a time for us as people to take back this state. Californians of all stripes supported this recall. Democrats, Republicans, right-wing nuts, left-wing nuts, because everybody knows this governor has destroyed this state. Walk with me. I'm going to walk my neighborhood. I'm going to walk my precinct. I'm going to talk with my friends and neighbors to let them know why we need to recall Gray Davis. Walk with me. And when this is done on October 7th, and we have taken back our state, that will be the beginning. We've taken back the governor's office. That will be the beginning of taking back our state, top to bottom, side to side. Walk with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray Haynes. Next, a man who always votes right. He's from this area. Please welcome State Senator Rico Aller.
Hey, how are you doing out there? I want you to know that I wore my stomping boots today. Being in the ranching business in a small way, I know that it's really important when you deal with rattlesnakes to wear your boots. And we're dealing with one here, and we're going to deal with him effectively on October the 7th. You know that what got me involved in this recall, I want to tell you, this is clearly not a movement on the part of legislators. It's not a movement on the part of anyone in power. It's a movement that is about everyday people that see what's wrong with our state and what's corrupt with our governor. The definition of evil is one who puts the interest of himself ahead of the good of others. Thomas Aquinas said it, and we're saying it here today. It is not that Gray Davis is a Democrat or that Gray Davis is a liberal. It is that he is a corrupt man. Gray Davis said the other day that this was not just about changing governors, it was about changing course. Well, that is certainly true. So he has said something that's truthful. It is about changing course, but I want you to know he's changed course every day he's been in office because he moves wherever he feels the pressure is going to be the least. That has nothing to do with leadership. That has to do with preserving and protecting one's own self-interest. And that is fundamentally wrong. That is why we are recalling Gray Davis. Great job.
Good job, Rico. Please welcome the man who was on the phone with Melanie Morgan on December 30th when he was asked, well, why don't we recall him? He was at that time the chairman of the Republican Party of California. Welcome, Sean Steele.
Folks, we're here for a reason. In 1910, California experienced the same kind of corruption, one-party dictatorship, government out of control, and it was a middle-class populist rebellion that swept the bureaucrats out. 92 years later, we find ourselves with a corrupt government controlled by special interests. Those guys across the street that you saw, they're getting paid and they're part of the problem. The question is, do we have the willpower to win? Do we know that there's a difference between the state employee unions who are looting California and the taxpayers in the middle class that are paying for it? Who's going to win this struggle? The middle class? We have an army. The CTA has 100,000 members, and the prison guard union has 26,000 members. We had 155,000 people that circulated petitions. Who's going to win this battle? This is much bigger than Republicans. Yes, it's much bigger than political parties. This is the most important political revolution California has seen since 1910, and we're a part of that. My friends, we have a struggle for the quality of life. Either California is going to be the golden state, the home of the middle class, or it's going to become a banana republic. Which do we want? Do we want to survive against Gray Davis and what he's bringing us? Is the taxpayers going to win over the tax spenders? Is that Gray Davis going to continue to be the master, or is he and other politicians going to learn to be the servant? Look, does it just end with Gray Davis? Is this the beginning? We've got to take Sacramento, and everybody in that building's got to think twice about what they're doing on this planet Earth, because once we get rid of Gray Davis, we get rid of all of his fellow travelers. Goodbye, and God bless you. Thank you.
Send them a message. Recall Gray Davis, and they'll all stand up and take notice. The first party to endorse the recall was the Libertarian Party of California. And their representative here today is Lori Adashwitz. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Lori. Please join us, and please give a big warm welcome to Lori from the Libertarian Party.
Tens of thousands of libertarians sent me here today to say thank you. Thank you to each one of you, because we don't often get to feel mainstream. This is a mainstream movement. I look out there, I don't see Republicans, I don't see party lines, I see families, I see people, I see children, I see business owners. And I want to thank you for one other thing. I want to thank you because you and we are smarter than that. We are smarter than that. Say that every time you hear Gray Davis say that this is about sour grapes. We're smarter than that. They want to say that this is conservative Republicans that are doing this. Well, guess what? We're smarter than that. They want to say that this is about the $30 million it's going to cost to recall Gray Davis. Well, guess what? We're smarter than that. Together, every one of us, we can make this happen. But it doesn't stop here today. Today is a celebration. Today is the beginning, and each of us need to continue to be smarter than that as they go forward and try and smear us for being the losers, because we are not. We're smarter than that. So stay strong, stay with the program, and we can not take over California, but take it back. Recall Gray Davis.
Thank you to the Libertarian Party. Thank you, Lori. Next, we have another candidate for governor, a man who not only endorses the recall, but was here with us at the beginning at the kickoff rally when we announced the recall back in March, I believe it was. Ron Golke from the American Independent Party. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thanks a lot. You know, I wanted to bring a joke because politicians like to tell jokes, but the biggest joke in California refused to come with me. I was going to say good morning when I prepared this speech, but good afternoon. You know, politicians are able to speak up here because we're standing in the shade. I'm sorry about that sunshine. I am Ron Golke. I'm the American Independent Party candidate for governor. I am the lifetime Valley resident of the great sovereign state of California. I believe in the protection of the family, and that starts with protecting jobs, having a closed border, cutting taxes so that businesses and families can be free from government oppression. I was the first to introduce the elimination of the vehicle car tax, which was the largest car tax in California history, and I do say was. My plan includes a $25 one-time registration fee. No other taxes or fees should be levied against an automobile as long as you own it. I am currently working on the homeowner's exemption, which is currently $7,000. We want to elevate that immediately to $25,000 and continue on up, and then keep pace with inflation. Governor Davis has not protected our families or our jobs. Time does not allow me to cover all the bills that he has allowed to become law that are anti-family, anti-business, and anti-California. When people are elected into office that have no working knowledge of business or how it operates, this is what we get: $38 billion in debt. But actually, with another $8 billion on top of that, that's $44 billion. You know, anyone can say they're going to balance the budget, but I will put forth a California budget that not only is balanced, but will protect California jobs. I believe that I am the best candidate for governor simply because I am not part of the two-party system. That cannot agree, then they cannot agree on the two-party, excuse me, got lost there. Okay, let's start in again here. Today, finally, you have a choice to decide whether to vote for the candidate who can change the future of Californians or lose California to only those who care about their political futures. I realize as a voter, it won't be easy for you to step out of your comfort zone and across party lines to make that tough, tough choice. I ask you to drop by and meet my wife and I at our booth so you can get better acquainted. God bless you, and God bless California.
Thank you, Ron. Next, we are going to hear from the coordinator of Centro Azteca Información, Miguel Arroja. Please welcome Miguel. Thanks for coming. Very good.
Buenas tardes a todos. Quiero decirles, voy a hablar español, todos han hablado inglés y yo creo que hay mucha gente que también quisiera oír que se hable en español. Estamos aquí apoyando el movimiento y hemos estado desde hace ya tiempo, desde que empezó, porque nosotros el año pasado llamamos a nuestra gente a votar en contra del gobernador porque había hecho acuerdos con nosotros, especialmente con Gil Cedillo, y nos falló. Por eso estamos aquí presentes y queremos darle las gracias a todos por el apoyo en los proyectos que estamos sacando. I want to say thanks to everyone for the support we give it to us in many areas. And I want to tell you guys, we started this stronger last year because we feeling the governor no respect us in the way when we ask it. Our organization ask to everyone to go back home and start run and start moving and start bring people. Not going to be too easy in October, but I know if we together, if we united, we can win. ¡Viva el recall! Gracias.
Viva Recall. Next, we're going to hear from Leo Lacayo. He's the Bay Area representative for the recall of Gray Davis. Leo? Come on up.
Good afternoon, everybody. What's going on? We're going to sleep here. Let's wake up. When my great-grandfather came to California 4 generations ago, they used to hang thieves. Now we got to recall them. There is no doubt in our minds that we got to get rid of Gray Davis and we got to get rid of all these bad guys. You got to join the posse. You got to get on board. We've got to get to our friends, our neighbors. We've got to get off our backsides, into the saddle and ride. This is no game. This is serious. The clinics in East LA are all closed. Kids are getting sick. Minority children have no opportunities in our schools. They're being run by insane people. Education is non-existent. Worst state in the union. Gray Davis elected 5 times. 5 times he's bilked the voters. 5 times he's taken us to the cleaners. 5 times he's sold out your interest, my interest, their interest, our interest. He's got a plan, all right. He's even got one for immigration. He wants us to all leave the state. Small business by the droves. Hundreds of thousands of jobs are lost. Millions of lives are affected. We have a serious task. If we don't take this seriously, if we don't get on board, we're not going to be able to say, hasta la vista, Gray. Viva el recall!
Viva Recall. The beginning of the recall required a proponent, the official proponent of the recall. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Ted Costa.
Yeah, how do you do? Hey, I want to give you a little breaking news, and that is that you probably heard that we filed 1.6 million, but what you really don't know is they've been keep coming in and coming in and coming in, and yesterday we passed 2 million signatures. And we will probably have, by September 2nd deadline, and we're not encouraging people to bring them in. They just keep calling and demanding to sign. We probably will have 2.3 million before we're done. Much more important than that, though, we have already succeeded far beyond just those signatures, for we have energized about 150,000 new people, a new generation of people who will stand up for their liberty and stand up against government that's oppressive. I think, John Kennedy was a Democrat. We have to listen to his words. He said we would pay any price, bear any burden, overcome any hardship. And I think those ideals have come upon the people of California today. We know what the price is, $38 billion. We didn't ask for it, we didn't approve it, and we have to pay it off, and we'll do that. A lot of hard work, but we'll do it. And we must bear the burden. The burden is the burden of good citizenship, the duty of good citizenship, the duty of each and every one of us to become watchdogs over government, watchdogs over oppressive government. And we must overcome a real hardship what other people have overcome in the past, with Hiram Johnson and others. That burden is that behind our ostensible government in California, there exists an invisible government. That invisible government is, on one party is the public employee union bosses, and on the other side of the aisle is the country club Republicans. Although I'm 62 years old and I've voted for 40 years, this election will be the first election in my lifetime, in which the people actually have a chance to vote the candidate of the people to be governor without having to go by the gatekeepers of the big political bosses. I could tell you the same thing that Theodore Roosevelt told people when he was leading the great progressive movement. He told them that they had to stand together. He said he knew where he stood, that he stood at Armageddon and he battled with the Lord. And that's where we all have to stand. Thank you very much.
Good job. Thank you. Next, we are going to hear from the chairman of the California Black Council, Craig DeLuz. Craig?
You know, I brought my kids out here today because I wanted them to see the dream that our founders had when they founded this country. You see, they knew something that to a certain degree I think over time we've forgotten. You see, we look at the Declaration of Independence and we always remember that part where it says, you know, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But what we always forget is that little part that comes after it where it says, and to protect these rights, to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just consent from the governed. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we finally understood that we are the governed. We've come to understand that the government that we have is the government that we choose. See, choice is very important in this whole thing. Man, I love the power of choice. The Founding Fathers understood the power of choice when they allowed us to elect our leaders. In the Bible, they understood the importance of choice. It says, I set before you life and death, now choose life. Or let's talk about something more pertinent. Exodus 18:21, where it says, choose from among them able men, such as fear God, hate truth, love truth. Let me correct that. Love truth. I'm sorry, I was thinking of Gray Davis. Love truth, hate covetousness, and set them as rulers over the thousands, over the hundreds, over the 50s, and over the tens. See, we have the choice. We have the choice of who our rulers are. Good and bad, we've chosen them. And the thing that we've got to do today is realize that the fight is not over. That we have still got to continue to fight to select our leaders. Not just in the recall, but after the recall. When it comes to assembly races, city council races, county board of supervisors, and Congress, we have to take action. Let me tell you one more thing. Inaction is a choice. Not being involved is a choice. We can no longer afford not to be involved. That's how we got where we are. If there's one thing that I can say, just one thing, get involved. Do something. I don't care where, I don't care which campaign you work for. I don't care. You know what? There's going to be the Simon campaign. There's going to be the McClintock campaign. There's going to be the ISA campaign. It doesn't matter. But remember, all of us are working together for one cause: to dump Gray Davis. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. The chairman, the state chairman of the Reform Party, Jeff Rainforth. Jeff?
How's everybody doing today? All right, are you guys ready to go down in the history books as the first recall ever to succeed in the great state of California? Yeah! All right, give yourselves a hand. Again, my name is Jeff Rainforth, the state chair of the Reform Party of California. Our party opted not to officially sponsor the recall because our members were divided on the issue, and we worked together with all of our members. Many of our members were out collecting signatures all the same, and I think I got a few in my spare time, so I did my part, so that's cool. Our party believes that all politicians should be held politically accountable. Our party profoundly believes that all politicians should be fiscally responsible. Our party believes that honesty is a trait that all politicians should warmly and deeply embrace. Apparently, none of these things were on Governor Gray Davis's to-do list. So now he is out of here. Yeah. Perhaps the current governor should have looked all the money that the state of California has wasted and been defrauded out of to solve the budget crisis, instead of seeking to raise taxes and cut much-needed services. Waste and fraud, such as the no-bid contract between the California Department of Information Technology and Oracle, which will cost the state government $41 million, and Medi-Cal fraud, which cost us $2.5 billion in the year 2002 alone. That's your and mine money. And the list goes on and on. They only gave me 2 minutes to speak here, so visit us on the web at reformpartyofcalifornia.org. And that's it. I'll talk to you later.
The list is endless. Next, we have actually a Democrat candidate for president. He came all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada. He's the national chair of Americans for Credibility in Congress, which is an organization that keeps the spotlight on members of Congress, and now he is speaking out against the corruption of Gray Davis and the need for Davis to be recalled. Please welcome John Estrada.
You know, Howard is absolutely right. This is a vote of confidence. And so let's hear it. Defeat Gray Davis. It's time to save California. It's time to save America. And it's time to defeat Gray Davis. What do you think? So not only am I running for President of the United States, I'm not one of the selectees that the extreme Democrats have put up there for you, but I'm an alternative to those individuals. Now, I'm also forming in California a group called Democrats Against Gray Davis. And if you want to know more about that, log on to www.defeatgraydavis. So I thank you for your time. God bless you. And let's have a victory on October 7th.
There are millions of you who want to speak. We have 2 more. We have a number of candidates who want to talk. They will all be up here to have their pictures taken with you. We will have bands playing. We've got a lot to do in the remainder of the day for the fair, but we only have 2 more speakers. This next man is the chairman of the National Tax Limitation Committee. He's been with us since the beginning. Welcome, Lou Euler.
Let's again recognize the role that Howard and Ted Costa and Darrell Issa have played to make this a reality. And you all have the staying power, as evidenced by being here for 2 hours listening to us, to have made this a reality. We will take Gray Davis out, but who succeeds him is critical. We have sent a pledge to all the candidates who've held up their hand to replace Gray Davis, a fiscal responsibility pledge asking that they pledge solemnly to do the following: no new taxes, constitutional amendment to limit the growth of government spending and taxes in California. It is the GAN limit revised, support for the 2/3 legislative vote for the tax increase and for a budget, support of Prop 13 and control over property taxes, working to limit the debt of the state, restoring our credit rating, using the governor's veto power rigorously to balance the budget, and a clean house statewide of waste, fraud, and abuse in government spending. The persons who pledged to do that are qualified for your vote to succeed Gray Davis. Thank you.
Never trust an ex-politician when he tells you it's over. There are actually 2 people who are going to speak from this point forward. They are both candidates for the United States Senate. First, welcome Assemblyman Tony Strickland.
Thank you, Howard. I got sworn into office the same day Gray Davis got sworn in, or the same time frame that Gray Davis got sworn in as governor. And I remember his first State of the State address. He said it was the era of higher expectations. I noticed that Gray Davis doesn't say that anymore. Gray Davis has taken the largest surplus in California history and turned it into the largest deficit in California history in 5 years. He's had 5 years to lead the state, and he's took it down the path of destruction. We're on the brink of bankruptcy, and the best indicator of how someone's going to perform in the future is to look at their past. Can California afford another 3 years of Gray Davis? So that's why it's up to us to unite together, Democrats, Independents, Republicans, Reform parties, Libertarians, to stand firm against this failed governor. Now, Governor Gray Davis says this is a Republican effort to recall him. 30% of the signatures were Democrats. Leadership is not a partisan issue. That's why we need to get rid of Governor Gray Davis. And I was just asked by the media if I had any concern that there were so many candidates talking about running for governor. And I said, at that time, we're offering the people of California more choices, not less choices. And I think that's important. And the fact that there's so many candidates that feel they could do a better job than Gray Davis, I'm surprised there's not 34 million candidates for governor, because all of them could do a better job than this current governor. Thank you so much.
I'll say it again. I'd rather have somebody out of the phone book than Gray Davis to be our governor. It takes common sense, something he doesn't have, it seems. At least he vetoed my bills. Our last speaker of the day, a candidate for the United States Senate, Danny Ball.
Thank you, Howard. My name is Danny Ball. I'm from Hemet, California. That's California's official, the home of California's official outdoor play, the Ramona Pageant. It's also the home of where a lot of those scenes in that new movie, Seabiscuit, were filmed. So when you watch that movie, take a look, and when you see the Hemet stock farm, it's an old antique stock farm in Hemet, you'll be seeing my hometown. You know, I love the Sacramento Bee newspaper. Last night I spent a little time and I took a quiz, a geography quiz in the Sacramento Bee newspaper. It was very interesting, and you know what? I only missed 6 questions, and that told me when I looked down there at my score that I was a genius. Well, now, the thing I was thinking was, you know, you do not have to be a genius to figure out why we are here today. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I had a bad dream. In my dream, this big building behind me was a big ocean liner. It was a ship. And that building to the west of us over there looked like a big iceberg. Now, you know the rest of my dream, don't you? Because California was laying at the bottom of the ocean. And I was thinking, how are we going to get out of this nightmare, when I suddenly awoke? I sat up in my bed, I looked out the window, and there I saw coming over a hill a big white horse with a rider on that horse. And I looked, and it was coming towards me, and I saw riding that horse was Mr. Ted Costa. You know, he came in to save the day. And I'm here today to thank Mr. Ted Costa, to thank Mr. Howard Kaloogian, to thank all of these people, Sal Russo, and all of these people who have been involved in this recall, because I was one of the first to propose the recall back in September of 2001. I wrote an op editorial about it that appeared in several California newspapers, and this today is the reality of my good dream. I appreciate so much you coming out here today, because I know you saw my motorhome out there. I'll be out there by my motorhome, and I've got a booth. Drop by and see me. I'm going to be running against Barbara Boxer, and I think she's one woman that needs to be replaced. One thing I would like to leave with you is we have a website, and on that website, we're compiling the 100 top reasons why Gray Davis should be recalled. Now, we want your participation. The website is just called beatboxer.com. Go to that website, send us an email. We want some concrete evidence. We can get all this stuff on our own, but we want your input also. We want to have a contest here. We want the 100 best reasons. We know there are probably thousands, but we're just trying to pare it down to the 100 best. Now, don't forget, my name is Danny Ball. I'm going to try to replace Barbara Boxer. We're well on our way. We've got a great campaign going. We want you to get involved. We know that we need a conservative representing us back in Washington, D.C. It's about time we got rid of that woman right along with Gray Davis. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny Ball. My apologies to Dennis Mountjoy and Casper Garcia and all the other candidates who are going to be around. They're here. They'll be here up at the podium. They'll be circulating amongst the talk show hosts. And please enjoy the rest of the fair with the jazz band that we have and the children's section. Thank you all for coming, ladies and gentlemen.
As this rally to recall the California governor wraps up, we want to take your phone calls once again to get your thoughts. 3 numbers to reach us here. We have 2 for callers from California, as you can see on your screen. 202-585-3885 for California Democrats. 202-585-3886 for California Republicans only. And 202-585-3887 for all other states. Now, if you missed any of our live coverage of this event today, you'll get a second chance to see it tonight. It'll be a part of our American Perspectives lineup, which will begin at 8 p.m. Eastern. Also, should there be any candidate debates, we will bring those to you, and coverage of local newscasts down the road the night of the election. And we're going to go to your phone calls now. First to San Bernardino, California, on the Democrats line. You're on C-SPAN. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm from Sacramento, California,
We'll take your call.
and I am calling about this recall for Governor Davis. I don't know how these people cannot see the situation our country's in. If Mr. Davis, they're going to try to recall Governor Davis, they should also try to recall Mr. Bush, because our national deficit is unbelievable. California, with Governor Davis, will pull out of this. Mr. Bush's friends made sure that California got in this situation because of the power problem. I just cannot believe that people can be so petty as to try to go through the back door, as these Republicans are doing, to try to override the people of California's wishes. I'm an 81-year-old grandmother, and I only have one grandchild, a granddaughter. I have no relative that is in the military that is in the immediate family. But it breaks my heart to see what Mr. Bush has done to the young people of this country, to send those young people over there in that horrible, horrible country instead of trying to negotiate through the UN.
Thanks for your thoughts. On to San Jose, California, Republicans line.
Yes, hi.
You're on C-SPAN.
Hi, my name is Nellie, and I'm calling regarding the candidacy of Mr. Issa. I happen to be a Lebanese American, and I'm actually very disconcerted about his actions regarding some very critical issues that we face today as a nation. One of them is our war against terrorism, and Mr. Issa has been has highly compromised our stance regarding this issue, especially with his support for Syria and his lack of support for critical issues and critical bills in Congress today, such as the Syria Accountability Act and the Lebanese Sovereignty Restoration Act.
Any thoughts on the California recall vote?
I support the recall vote, but I don't support his candidacy because he's not the right person for this job. If he's a person who does not support our war on terrorism and who supports countries like Syria that support terrorists and harbor terrorists and develop weapons of mass destruction and occupy nations like Lebanon, because they do occupy Lebanon at this time and nobody is saying anything about it.
Thanks for your thoughts. Mount Olive, North Carolina, others line.
Yes, hello. I don't know if this is the way it works or not, but I believe that only the people who voted the first time should be allowed to vote for a recall. If you're too lazy to get up your butt to vote, you don't have a right to come back and say, I'm unsatisfied with the way it turned out. I want to exercise my right to vote now. That's why in Florida was not allowed to have a revote on the presidential vote fund, because they said people would come out who did not vote the first time. If this is the way it is, I wish someone would say it. If only the people who voted the first time are allowed to vote for the recall.
Well, only registered voters can sign the petitions to recall or call for the recall. Next call is from Santa Monica, California. Democrats line.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I just wanted to say I love C-SPAN, and thank you very much for putting up those radio talk show hosts, one right after another. It was really interesting. They were talking about the media, yet they are the media, and it seems like the biggest boondoggle that's ever happened here, because the same thing is happening across the country. It's a trickle-down economics of the Bush administration that has hurt every state. Nevada is also going through its aches and pains, and it's pretty amazing. It's a putsch. It's basically what it is. They want to recall the vote. People went out and voted the first time. Give us the right of that vote. We shouldn't have to go out and vote again and tell everybody, hey, we want a Democrat as a governor. We want Gray Davis, and open up your eyes. Enron basically built this for all our power.
Okay. By midday yesterday, there was just one GOP candidate definitely in the running, California Congressman Darrell Issa, who you saw here at the rally. Also, others considering a run are former vice presidential nominee Jack Kemp, actor Arnold Schwarzenegger, former Los Angeles Mayor Richard Riordan, California State Senator Tom McClintock, and failed GOP gubernatorial nominee Bill Simon, who you also saw at the rally. Now, during a promotional tour of the movie Terminator 3 in Mexico City, Mr. Schwarzenegger was quoted as saying, "I have no announcement to make, if that is your question." The state's Democratic office holders are supporting Gray Davis, though today we did hear from one Democratic challenger, Audie Bach, and the Green Party also has a candidate, Peter Camejo. Next call is from San Diego, California. San Diego, you're on C-SPAN.
Yes, I fully support the recall of Gray Davis. He has done nothing but backdoored all his political dealings. He went with the penal system and gave them a huge raise, but they turned around and gave him a huge contribution to his campaign.
On the other's line, Tucson, Arizona.
Yes, hello.
You're on C-SPAN.
Once again, thank you for C-SPAN. I agree with the recall of Gray Davis. It's about time, and I want to reiterate what the gentleman said earlier on the podium. If you do anything at all, it's get involved and get informed. I see this as a large wave of the American people waking up to what's been happening to us over the decades, and it's time to change everything, not only Gray Davis. And I say get rid of the Republicans and the Democrats. They're like the Whigs and the Tories were. They've all been lying to us, and it's time for a new party. I suggest we call it the American Party, and let's all wake up. God bless you, C-SPAN. Let's get rid of these fascists.
To Eureka, California, Democrats line.
Hi, I agree with the guy for the most part. I believe we should have a new party called the Responsible Party. It's amazing to me that Gray Davis is being recalled and he doesn't have any idea or clue about how to keep this from happening. I think Arianna Huffington would be a wonderful candidate. I voted for Gray Davis. I don't want the Republicans to go in the back door and be able to win the governorship here by their crookedness, what they're doing out there now. But if they do have a new person in there, they should put someone fresh, like either Arianna Huffington or a Green Party candidate, and kick those Republicans out, because we don't want them here. We voted them out, and now they're trying to come in the back door.
Next to New York City, on the other's line.
Yes, what I find strange is the guy who's speaking Spanish that's for this vote, those same Republican people will make it illegal for him to speak Spanish. I find it very ironic. People don't know who they backing. They should find out who they backing first before they back them. See ya.
Thanks for your thoughts. Gray Davis will face the first gubernatorial recall election in the state's 153-year history. The last gubernatorial recall election was back in 1921 when North Dakota Governor Lynn Frazier was removed from office. Back to your phone calls and to Tustin, California, a Republican caller.
Yes, Gray Davis has pretty much misled the state's voters by trying to downplay the budget before the budget problem, which is larger than all other states combined. He downplayed that before the election. He's taken so many prison guard contributions and then gave them a raise. Almost subsequent, he allowed dioxin in the San Francisco Bay. I mean, you could go on and on and on the problems that Gray Davis has caused the citizens of California. And it's just it's a horrible thing. So down with Davis.
Did you sign one of the petitions to
Yes,
have him?
I did.
Thanks for your call. Santa Rosa, California, Democrat.
Hi. Actually, I'm undecided at the moment. I used to always be registered Democrat, but right now I'm starting to think, and I have thought for a long time, I don't understand the two-party system or any party system. Why can't we work for the best for the country? It's kind of been my thought all along. As for Davis, a lot of people saying we should recall him because it wasn't a fair election because there was no viable other candidate. And now all these Republicans out of the woodwork to run against them, where were they before? It's my curiosity for one thing. As for the whole mess and everything, I'm definitely going to vote in the recall election. You know, obviously there's just the Republicans running. Maybe a Democrat might pop up. I don't know. I would definitely going to research and look into the candidates to try to find the best one. It won't be Simon. I know that. I don't like him. If he does declare. I don't know, though, but I do feel he was the key developer into this whole mess. You know, with the energy thing, I don't trust him. I think he's sneaky. I don't know. I don't like what he's done with California. You know, I'm one of the poor and disabled and scared every moment about this whole budget thing.
Thanks for calling. As we continue looking on the activities outside the state capitol in Sacramento, we're going to take one more call. Merced, California, Democrats line.
Yes, good afternoon. I would like to ask one question. Should we blame Gray Davis for the economy in all of the United States, or should we impeach Bush? That's all I have to say, and I support Gray Davis.
We appreciate your call and all those who've called in this afternoon. American Perspectives tonight will begin with the re-air of this rally that you've seen today, recalling Governor Gray Davis. After that, dedication of the Robert Dole Institute of Politics in Kansas.